be the only way forward between the two parties. I'm Dharamjot Kaur, bringing you the latest developments from farmers' agitation in India.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Vielleicht nur als Impulsant.
Hello and welcome to WION live broadcast from London. I'm Oliver Regan and these are the headlines. UK Parliament descends into chaos over votes on Gaza ceasefire. UK fashion designer Catherine Hamnett bins Commander of the British Empire medal in separate incidents. Israeli police claim 8 people wounded and 2 quote-unquote terrorists neutralised in shooting attack near West Bank settlement. Two people are killed and 3 others are missing after an empty cargo ship struck a bridge in southern China, causing part of it to collapse. At least 16 killed and several others injured in a landslide at an illegal gold mine in Venezuela's Bolivar state. PM Modi says India's central government leaving no stone unturned to ensure farmer welfare in backdrop of farmers' march to Delhi. Eyewitness video shows dramatic tornado throwing debris up in the air in Indonesia's West Java province. 33 injured and hundreds of buildings damaged. Israel's War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz has declared that a new hostage deal between Israel and Hamas could be in the works. He, however, added that if the sides fail to reach an agreement, Israel will invade the southern Gazan city of Rafah over Ramadan.
Here are ongoing attempts to promote a new hostage deal, and there are promising early signs of possible progress. We will not stop looking for a way, and we will not miss any opportunity to bring our girls and boys home.
This comes as the IDF, after completing its operational takeover of Khan Yunis, confirmed that they found no hostages. They, however, found tunnels with cages where hostages could have been held. Amid continuous Israeli strikes in the city, residents of Jabalia in the northern Gaza Strip and Rafah in the south took to the streets to protest against Hamas leaders. Meanwhile, Israel's army has released footage of what it says is a strike on Hezbollah military infrastructure in Lebanon. Furthermore, 3 were killed in an Israeli airstrike on Damascus residential building. 2 Democratic US senators who were in Lebanon for an official visit said that the Israeli military and Hezbollah have a window to de-escalate tensions along Lebanon's southern border before a possible Israeli military offensive against the Lebanese armed group. This came after US Central Command, or CENTCOM, forces said that it had conducted 4 self-defence strikes against 7 more Houthi anti-ship cruise missiles and 1 mobile anti-ship ballistic missile launcher that they were prepared to launch towards the Red Sea from Yemen. Additionally, the forces shot down a one-way attack unmanned aircraft system in self-defence. For more on this, our correspondent Jodie Cohen has sent us this report from Rana. And Jodie, the sign.
Yes, so Finance Minister Smotrich was asked what is Israel's most important priority in this war, and he said that the release of the hostages is not the most important thing. What matters most is destroying Hamas. But he also asked why make it a competition and said that the release of the hostages is also extremely important. Now, some of the hostage families have been upset by his remarks. War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz has said that the return of the hostages is the most urgent goal, and Israel will not miss any opportunity to bring them home. Now remember, 134 hostages have been held for now 138 days by Hamas in Gaza. The IDF have revealed a video with the permission of the family of the abduction of Shiri Bibas and her 4-year-old and 9-month-old baby, and they're the youngest of the hostages. And the IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari has said that those who have the audacity to question Israel's needs to operate in Gaza but don't have the humanity to demand that Hamas release the hostages first should look at this video.
Well, just over a week ago, the Israeli Defence Forces rescued 2 Israeli hostages from Rafah. Where are the other hostages being held, and does Israel have plans to try and rescue those remaining hostages?
So talks are ongoing between the US, Egypt, Qatar and Israel on brokering a pause in the war and the release of the hostages being held by Hamas. Hamas chief Haniyeh, we know, was in Cairo on Tuesday for talks, and White House Middle East advisor Brett McCurk is in Egypt on Wednesday and in Israel on Thursday for further meetings. Now, the Prime Minister Netanyahu says that there's a lot of pressure on Israel at home and abroad to agree to a deal to release the hostages at any cost. The key words here are at any cost, because Netanyahu has called Hamas's demands delusional, including Hamas's demand that Israel releases hundreds of Palestinian security prisoners who are serving time for murder. Netanyahu said Israel's willing to go a long way but is not ready to pay any price. And remember, he has suggested that he believes that it's pressure on Hamas militarily and from Qatar, which hosts Hamas leaders, that he believes will ultimately lead Hamas to agreeing to release the hostages.
Dozens of lawmakers stormed out of Britain's Parliament during a vote on a ceasefire in Gaza. Tempers were flaring as the 3 biggest political parties sought to outmaneuver each other. The uproar followed a decision by the Speaker to ignore precedent and allow a crucial vote. The decision helped the opposition Labour Party to avoid a large-scale rebellion among its own lawmakers over its position on the Israel-Hamas war. Lawmakers from the governing Conservatives and the opposition Scottish National Party left the debating chamber in protest. Some even tried to take the rare step of holding proceedings in private. Speaker Lindsay Hoyle eventually apologised. He said he took the call because he was concerned about the security of lawmakers. That was after some faced threats of violence over their stance on the war. The debate in Parliament was initiated by the SNP, which put forward a motion calling for an immediate ceasefire. Labour and the Conservatives then proposed amendments with different conditions. Remember, they have both backed Israel whilst expressing concern over its actions in Gaza. It's important to mention here that Hoyle selected both those amendments to be voted on. This marks a significant step away with the precedent, under which one opposition party cannot alter another's motion. In a separate but related development from the UK, the fashion designer Catherine Hamnett threw her Commander of the British Empire medal in a bin, saying that she's protesting against the UK's role in the genocide in Gaza. The designer is known for her public demonstrations. In her latest protest, she wore a black top that read, "Disgusted to be British." And she threw her CBE in a bin, saying it belonged there with Sunak and Starmer. She then urged people to contact their MP and demand a permanent ceasefire in Gaza.
I'm disgusted to be British for our role in genocide in Gaza. This is my CBE. It belongs in the dustbin with Sunak and Starmer.
According to a Reuters report, Iran has provided Russia with a large cache of powerful surface-to-surface ballistic missiles. It's a move that deepens the military cooperation between the two US-sanctioned countries. Reuters says Iran has sent 400 highly accurate ballistic missiles to Russia. The powerful surface-to-surface missiles include many from the Fateh 110 family of short-range ballistic weapons, such as the Zolfaghar. This road-mobile missile is capable of hitting targets at a distance of between 300 and 700 kilometres. Iranian military has declined to comment on the exclusive report, while the Russian military is yet to respond to it. According to the Reuters report, the shipments began in early January after a deal was finalised in meetings late last year in Tehran and Moscow. As of now, at least 4 shipments of missiles have been received by Russia. They were reportedly transported via planes, while others travelled via the Caspian Sea on ships. Reports suggest more shipments of missiles could follow in the coming weeks. The deal between Russia and Iran comes after restrictions dictated by the UN Security Council on Iran's export of missiles, drones and other military technology expired in October. Although the US and European Union have retained their sanctions on Iran's ballistic missile programme, they have flagged concerns over exports of weapons to Iran's proxies in West Asia and to Russia. According to Reuters, a US official says Washington has no indication that deliveries have taken place, but they have seen evidence of talks actively advancing. Although the Pentagon is yet to comment on the deliveries of missiles to Russia, since Russia started its invasion of Ukraine back in February 2022, Iran shared 136 drones and they've become a lethal weapon in Russia's arsenal. Leaked documents from an Iranian company connected to Iran's defence ministry have revealed a wealth of information about Tehran's close cooperation with Moscow on these suicide drones. The document states Russia has purchased at least 6,000 Shahed drones. Moscow also received extensive aid in setting up local production lines for these drones. In return, Russia was paying for these deals, in part, with several tons of gold ingots. In November 2023, Iran's Deputy Defence Minister Mahdi Farahi said between March 22 and March 23, Iran sold about $1 billion in weapons. And it's not just Iran that's arming Russia. A quasi-alliance seems to be brewing. According to South Korea's National Intelligence Service, Pyongyang has exported over 1 million shells to Russia since early August 23. The shells were provided to Russia in 10 separate shipments to support its war. While another ally of Russia, China, has denied accusations of arming Moscow, Beijing says it's a neutral party in the conflict. But their stance of neutrality has been criticised for refusing to condemn Moscow's offensive in Ukraine. Joe Biden's brother has testified as part of House Republicans' sweeping impeachment inquiry into the president, which is largely focused on deals cut by his brother and son, Hunter Biden. According to a copy of his opening statement, Biden's youngest brother said, and I quote, "I've had a 50-year career in a variety of business ventures. Joe Biden has never had any involvement or any direct or indirect financial interest in those activities. None." The session was held after the revelation that a former FBI informant, charged with making up a multi-million-dollar bribery scheme involving the Bidens and a Ukrainian energy company, had contacts with officials associated with Russian intelligence. Republicans have also focused on the president's son, Hunter Biden. saying he used his father's name while he was vice president under Barack Obama to enrich himself with foreign business deals in Ukraine and China. The investigation has dragged on into the 2024 election year, despite it failing to produce any clear evidence of wrongdoing by the president. Democrats have accused the Republicans of trying to whip up the impeachment process as a political play ahead of the November election. Criticism over the lack of evidence against the president has grown, even among Republicans. Many GOP lawmakers say they've yet to see any evidence of the high crimes and misdemeanours required for impeachment. House Republicans are facing the prospect that they might not be able to muster their slim majority for an eventual impeachment vote.
My God. He calls those who oppose.
Weeks of dry winter weather have raised concerns for Southern Europe and Northern Africa. According to the EU's Copernicus Climate Change Survey, the drought plaguing the Mediterranean has failed to recede over the winter months that brought below average rainfall. The report states over the first 10 days of February, over 45% of Southern Europe suffered from soil drought, with few of them reaching the highest alert levels. Meanwhile, a quarter of all Europe and Northern Africa is under drought conditions. Some 19% of the region's soil is at a warning level, meaning a moisture deficit is underway. Now, warmer than usual seasonal temperatures are the culprit behind this drier weather. Due to this, the situation has worsened since the end of January, but it has slightly improved compared with the same period last year. The Western Mediterranean region has been particularly hard hit, including southern Italy, Spain, northern Morocco, Algeria and Tunisia. In France, southern regions faced very worrying levels of groundwater, its main reserve for drinking water. The island of Sicily declared a drought emergency at the beginning of February, while in Sardinia, farmers were slapped with restrictions on water use. In Morocco, the country is experiencing its sixth consecutive year of drought, and in recent days, the temperature approached 37 degrees Celsius. The United Arab Emirates is in talks to buy a stake in London's Heathrow Airport, potentially joining Saudi Arabia as a major investor. This move comes as Heathrow reports its first profit since the pandemic, with passenger numbers rebounding significantly. Mubadala Investment, an Abu Dhabi sovereign wealth fund, is considering the offer after being approached by existing shareholder Ardian. No agreements have been finalised, but the talks highlight the UAE's growing economic ties with Britain. The potential deal follows other high-profile UAE investments in the UK, including stakes in Vodafone and a bid for the Telegraph newspaper. Meanwhile, Heathrow Airport has turned a corner, reporting a pre-tax profit in 2023, and this marks a significant turnaround from the billions in losses it incurred during the pandemic. The positive results are driven by a 28.6% increase in passenger numbers, particularly from Asia. Retail revenue also grew substantially. However, challenges remain. New regulations by the UK Civil Aviation Authority will cut airport charges by 20%, putting pressure on Heathrow's profitability in 2024. As discussions unfold, scrutiny mounts over the potential implications of the UAE's investment in Heathrow, with state-owned entities from oil-rich Gulf states increasingly venturing into sensitive industries in the West. Security officials raise concerns over the extent of foreign influence and control.